Alright, I hope this bus stays here because I'm pretty sure the noise from the engine is canceling out the music from the casino. Anyway, told you this was a big pay stub to see what we got paid for each tournament down during the Chainsaw Mix series, because we held this series in May when we first opened here at Planet Hollywood. It's Planet Hollywood. And we held it again just now in November, and I was curious to see what the down rate was this time. Back in May, it was $9.33 per tournament down, and that's very low. So, I'm looking at my notes here. Okay, so I'm going to start off with one example of how getting paid for tournaments works. You sit down, you write your name on the down card. Every half hour has its own row, and that's how they know how many downs total were dealt and how much money there is to spread out over all these downs. So let's go to this first example, some graphics, some math.
Okay, simplest example, single day daily tournament example. Like at PH, we have 5 daily tournaments. Say all of them run, and the portion of each buy-in that goes to the staff, say whatever that number is, multiplied by however many entries you got for the entire day. Say you have $550 to pay your dealers from that money. Say it took 40 downs to deal all those tournaments. Well, you just divide the two numbers. 550 divided by 40, $13.75. So that's every dealer down gets $13.75. Someone deals one tournament down on his shift, he gets $13.75 for that. Someone deals 2 downs on his shift, double that. He would get $27.50 for dealing tournaments that day.
Okay, so that was one day. Now my pay stub covered 2 weeks. My pay stub shows me one number though. The way Planet Hollywood does it, at the end of the week, they have all their money to divvy out for the dealers for the tournament downs, and they know how many downs were dealt, and we have a different number for week 1 of the pay period and week 2 of the pay period. And even though those are 2 different numbers, we just have one number in our pay stub for the entire 2-week pay period. So let me show you this example. This isn't the actual number yet, but this is another example. Not one day now, a full 2 weeks.
Okay, so the pay period is 2 weeks. So this is what it might look like in a Planet Hollywood pay stub. So say week 1 of the pay period, I dealt 10 tournament downs, and the rate was $14 per down. 10 times 14 is $140. So I would get $140. That's the sum for me dealing tournaments week 1 of the pay period. Then week 2, say I dealt 5 tournament downs and the rate was $13 per down. 5 times 13 is 65. So in week 2, I get $65. That's my sum for dealing tournaments. In Planet Hollywood, at the end of each week, they calculate the down rate. So this is what it might look like when they're doing their calculations. In my pay stub, I would just see the sum, 140 plus 65, in one of the rows, and that would be my tournament pay.
So in that example, I would just see, even though one week was $140 and another week was $65, those two numbers sum to $205. I would just see in one of the rows in my pay stub, $205. And I would just have the total downs I dealt, because I'm keeping records myself. I could also check up in the poker room in the documents, but I would just divide that 205 by how many downs I dealt in the entire 2-week pay period, and then I would have the weighted average of what I got paid per down for that pay period. Now, if you want to pay differently based on game, because while we were running those mix games, we were also running our daily tournaments, 5 a day, and that's no limit hold'em. The Chainsaw series was only mixed games. So if you want to pay differently, I'm going to show you the equation in a minute. Planet Hollywood does not. We pay the same. It doesn't matter if you're dealing a no limit hold'em daily or if you're dealing a mixed game in the Chainsaw series. Orleans, I also work there. Orleans does pay differently. If you want to pay differently, this is one of the ways to do it. Here's the equation.
Okay, so here's the equation. A times X plus A times 1 plus P times Y equals T. So, got to tell you what all these variables are. So let A equal the dollars to pay out for each no limit hold'em down. So you need to know what you're going to pay out for each no limit hold'em down, and you need to figure out what you're going to pay out for each mixed game down. So that's what A is. Let X equal the number of no limit hold'em downs that your dealers dealt. Let Y equal the number of mixed game downs that your dealers dealt. Let P equal the percent increase that the mixed game downs are going to get versus the no limit hold'em downs. For example, in 2024 Summer Orleans, the mixed game down rate was guaranteed at least 20. The no limit hold'em was guaranteed at least 15. So 20 is 5 more than 15. 5 divided by 15, it's a third, 33.333%. That was how much more they wanted to pay mixed game downs than no limit hold'em at least. So P is the percent increase that mixed game downs are going to get versus no limit hold'em downs. T is the total dollars you have available to pay your dealers. So a lot of these are known. You just have to, do a little work. It's a little time consuming. It's not difficult, but you know what the numbers are. So you know what X is. Over the course of whatever, a day, a week, a pay period, you know how many no limit hold'em downs your dealers dealt. You just have to go through the down cards for the no limit hold'em tournaments and count how many downs there were. Same thing with Y. You know how many mixed game downs your dealers dealt. You just have to go through the down cards for all the mixed game tournaments and count the downs. You also know T. People buy in before they can play the tournament. A lot of the money goes to the prize pool, some to the house, some for the dealers. You know how much money you've taken in from these tournament buy-ins in order to pay your dealers. And like I said, you need to decide some percent P that you want to pay mixed games above no limit hold'em downs. So you know all of these things, and that just leaves A. A is the only unknown. We're solving for A. So once we solve for A, then we know A, the amount of dollars we're paying per down for all the no limit hold'em downs, and then we can multiply A times 1 plus P. So let's say you wanted to pay your mixed game downs 50% more than no limit hold'em. Okay, so as a percent, 50 as a decimal, 50% is 0.5. So 1 plus P, 1 plus 0.5, 1.5. So whatever your no limit hold'em down rate is, you multiply that by 1.5, and that's what you're paying your mixed game downs.
All right, so there's the equation. Now let me plug in some numbers.
Okay, there's the equation, and let's just making these numbers up, but let's look at an example. So let's say X is 400. 400 no limit hold'em tournament downs were dealt in the pay period. Let's say Y is 2,500. 2,500 mixed game tournament downs dealt in the pay period. Let's say we want to pay the mixed game downs 30% more than the no limit hold'em downs. P equals 30%, or as a decimal, 0.3. And let's say we took in $40,000 to pay our dealers. So here is the equation. Nothing plugged in yet. First, going to plug in X equals 400. There you go, on the far left side of the equation. Next, P, 30% as a decimal, 0.3. So 1 plus P is now 1.3. Next, Y is 2,500. So there you go. And T is 40,000. There you go. So the only variable left is A. So we just have to solve for A. Simple. First, we're going to multiply 1.3 times 2,500. That's 3,250. So we have A times 400 plus A times 3,250 on the left side of the equal sign. And we could just combine those. So we have A times 3650 equals 40,000, and now you just divide both sides by 3650, and A equals 1096. So every no limit hold'em down in this example gets $10.96. Now multiply by that increase of 30%, so 1.3, 30% more, and every mixed game down is going to get $14.24. All the numbers check out. Mixed game downs are getting paid 30% more than no limit hold'em downs. And if you wanted to check and plug those numbers back into the equation, there you go. The number on the bottom right is not 40,000 exactly. I had to round to the nearest penny to get the 1096 and the 1424. That's why it's a little off, but just to check the math, there you go. Close enough to 40,000.
Now you might be thinking another possibly or debatably easier way to do this is to just say we took in this much money to pay our dealers from the no limit hold'em tournaments. That's a dollar amount, and we had this many downs dealt in our no limit hold'em tournaments. That's an amount, and that's the downs. Divide those dollars by those downs, and that's it. That's what we're paying per no limit hold'em tournament. And you do the same with the mixed games. We took in this many dollars to pay our dealers for the mixed games, and our dealers dealt this many downs. Divide those two numbers. So I actually wish we got paid differently here at Planet Hollywood. At the Orleans we do. You get paid more per down to deal a mixed game than you do for No Limit Hold'em. We don't here, so in a sense, like, it benefits people at times to, that's not really a great wording. The mixed games are more difficult to deal, and there's a lot more money on the line, and you're not getting paid more to do it, so it's kind of like lacking in a benefit. At Orleans, you get paid more, so there's a direct benefit. Now, it's not that there's no benefit to knowing those games in Planet Hollywood. I got called in, I got the opportunity to deal 2 extra shifts during that series when it was really busy. You're not calling people in when it's really busy because you have a mixed game tournament series if they can't deal the mixed games. So they can't call people in who can only deal No Limit Hold'em. I got those calls. Also think, this had nothing to do with the mixed game series, but when we went in like the start of football season, some of us went from 4 days a week to 5. They weren't putting those people who could only deal No Limit Hold'em on the schedule 5 days a week. I think they just knew the like more equipped dealers and they were giving them the chance. So there are indirect benefits here at Planet Hollywood, although I also wish there were direct benefits. We just got paid more for those downs. That's not the case, but that's all right. All right, bus is gone. Never told you the number. So it was 933 back in May. It was 1131. That's the total dollar amount I saw in my pay stub divided by the total downs I dealt. And they're not all mixed games. Some mixed games, some No Limit Hold'em. But in that 2-week pay period, I know how many downs I dealt, corroborated it with the documents up in the poker room, and 1131. So better. I think we were just staffing better and we were more efficient as a poker room. I don't know if the rakes were the same. I'm almost never aware of the breakdown. I see the buy-in, almost never aware of the breakdown. This is going to the prize pool, this is going to the house, this is going to the staff. But yeah, not as good as normal per down. It is a much bigger dollar amount. The shifts were longer, and like I said, I got the opportunity to work extra shifts because it was so busy some of those days. But yeah, it was nice to see the 933 increase to 1131. And if we run it again, I'll check the numbers and let you know again. And remember, rice is a spoon food.